What's up, fight fans? It's your man 3K the Boss, aka Mr. Two Hands Up. Fah Fah. You already know what it is, man. It's Deuce, baby. And once again, we are back. We're back. And I just wanted to discuss some very frustrating things. And I'm pretty sure you guys will get my point. Because, shout out to Hook though. What's goody? Who got hand or the crybaby? I like it. I like it though. We're gonna have this discussion, man, and quite frankly, it's long overdue. It's been highly exaggerated, and I'm quite frankly tired of people putting, heralding these guys and putting these guys in a position where they shouldn't be. The Four Kings. So currently we have, a trend that is, in boxing to where people are calling Gervonta Tank Davis, Ricky Ricardo / Ricky Martin Garcia, Teofimo Lopez, and who's the other one? Devin Haney. I don't got no problem with Devin Haney. He doing everything he's supposed to do, calls everybody out. He's good with me. But here's the thing. They're not the Four Kings. They will never be the Four Kings. They can never get the respect of the Four Kings. Like, are you out of your freaking minds? We're talking about Roberto Duran, 4-weight champion, undisputed lineal lightweight champion, competed for 5 decades. Ranked, I believe, in the 1980s, considered, the eighth, the best. He was considered like I believe, like the best fighter of the last freaking like 80-some years or something like that. Then how many times has Roberto Duran fought? You gotta put these things in perspective. We're talking about a guy with a freaking we're talking about a guy with a record of 103, 70, and 16. 70 fucking knockouts, man. 70 knockouts. Where does Tank Davis fit in that? Well, Tank Davis is a knockout artist of Rudy Poo candy ass tomato cans. He's 25 and 24. What is Ryan Garcia? 21 and 18. Who are we giving him credit for? Fonseca, who was just known to get beat up, who's credible for getting beat up by Tank Davis and Tevin Farmer, people like that. What has he done other than beat Luke Campbell, who has completely hit his head on the ceiling of elite, as I have to say time and time again? And don't get me started. What are we going to compare? Who are we going to compare? Who are we going to compare to Tommy Hearns? Who are we going to compare to Tommy Hearns? The first 5-weight world champion. Where do people get off calling these individuals Four Kings? Why is that something that people are comfortable with saying? And when does the BS stop? We live in a world to where you can literally go back and look up everything and anything. But I completely understand those are too stupid to interpret what is taking place. Shit, they don't even stack up to Sugar Ray. With his 36 wins, 25 KOs, 3 losses, and a draw. Where do they stack up against Sugar Ray Leonard? Where? Somebody please tell me. He was like, what? Sugar Ray, wasn't he like, out of the entire 80s, he was considered the best fighter of that decade? How many other great fighters did he have to contend with in the 1980s to hold that title, to get that title, to be heralded as such? Lineal undisputed world champion in lightweight. Lineal in 3 other weight classes. Are you kidding me? Is any one of these so-called Four Kings lineal in any weight class? I'll wait. Has any one of them jumped any weight classes and become a champion? Doesn't matter which one you name. The disrespect is just few and far between. They don't measure up at all. There is nothing you can say about these individuals. Shit, Tommy Hearns has freaking 5 Hall of Famers that you can just think of off the top of your head right now. That's just absurd talk. You got to be kidding me. Who have these guys beaten? Okay, we got Teofimo Lopez. He's beating Masaroshi Nakatani, what IBF title holder Richard Comey for him to win his IBF title? Who else did he beat? Vasily Lomachenko, his greatest win, where really, a lot of people are of speculation and call it a debatable. I don't call it a debatable. I'd say he won, more rounds than Vasily. But at the end of the day, here's the biggest issue with it. This dude has been walking around with his freaking heads in the clouds, so inflated like a Goodyear blimp off of one win that people realistically would like to see you go back and do it again. If Lomachenko had his foot on the gas, nobody believes that you would last. It comes to a point to where it's like, yo, we don't disrespect the greats of the past, especially with accomplishments of individuals or a lot fabricated. If we're speaking of the 5-weight freaking Sonic Chilli Willy champion and Tank Davis, how do you get off measuring up? Which one of these guys, I ask any of you, which one of them are going to measure up to Marvin Hagler? Who measures up to Marvin Hagler? I mean, shit, I was only born in 85, but I'm of the recollection that I do believe that Marvin Hagler reigned freaking world champion for something like, 7 years? 7 years undisputed world champion? I mean, just go down the list of accomplishments. And I do believe out of everybody in his undisputed class at middleweight, I do believe he has the highest freaking KO percentage. And then if you look at the level of opposition, there is absolutely no comparison. So when I sit up here and I hear these things, no matter if I like any one of those individuals that people call for kings, no matter if I have some of a respect for them, I don't see how any of these individuals measure up to fuck Roberto Duran, fuck Tommy Hearns, fuck Marvin Hagler. How do they even measure up to Sugar Ray? And Sugar Ray accomplished a lot of things in a short amount of time and beat a lot of amazing fighters. I mean, shit, these motherfuckers need to fight some Davy Boy Moores. Real shit, though. Real shit. Am I saying something wrong here? Where do they measure up? Like, people have completely lost their minds when it comes to this sport. And we've gotten so far disconnected to where we're so quick to give roses to people who don't deserve it. Sergio, salute, fam. We give roses to so many people who absolutely don't deserve it. And we completely straight take the roses away from those who are highly deserving of it. I mean, like, let's put this in perspective. Like, I'm sure all of my subscribers know. Do you think any one of these individuals are going to be fighting from like the time of, you would say, a Tommy Hearns, who I believe, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, competed in his career from, I believe, like some crazy shit, like 1976 all the way up to freaking 1999. Won an IBO what was it, cruiserweight title in the late 90s. Dude, this dude has accomplished so many things that these dudes won't ever even amount to. It's just asinine to me when people preach this Four Kings talk. Look, I understand we're trying to market somebody and trying to sell them and everything, but look, you come up really short when you try to compare these dudes to those gentlemen. And these are gentlemen that I could look over a quarter of their career and see that none of these guys compare to it. And quite frankly, if you measure them up to them in a boxing match, none of them would beat them. How many of these guys are going to climb multiple weight classes and become champion? Because I do believe all of the Four Kings, they all climbed multiple weight classes and became champions, and most of them became lineal world champions in multiple weight classes. This is the biggest crock of crap that I've ever heard in my existence of watching boxing. Coming from the time of a young buck sitting on my grandfather's knee, watching them, learning and understanding who Ali was, smoking Joe Frazier, Ken Norton, to who we have to the Pernell Whitakers of the world, to the Wilfred Benitos of the world, to the great Alexis Arguellos of the world. Quite frankly, they don't even measure up to, you know what I'm saying, the one Nicaraguan fighter who passed the great Alexis Arguello. And we all know who I'm talking about here. The guy who is a four-weight world champion, who is still competing at this day, who's a matter of fact in a tournament, who got robbed against who? El Gallo himself. Juan Francisco Estrada, Chocolatito, Quadrajas, and who else? Circuset Ringside. They don't measure up to them. And this is what you guys do? So this is what we doing, fight fans, Reaper Gang. This is what we doing. Do they measure up against Chocolatito? Do they measure up to freaking Juan Francisco Estrada, Carlos Quadras? Do they measure up against Ringside? Those are the real four kings. Those are the ones you should be heralding as four kings, the ones that you don't give the freaking title. The ones that you guys probably know nothing about. We got to remember, Chocolatito came up from minimum weight, 105 pounds, all the way on his superfly shit, because he's a superfly fighter. And we're talking about the most prima donna, freaking overbaked, overly nuked, overly saturated, never measuring up, never even having a fight, never engaging with one another, the Twitter war tweens. Yeah, I said it. They're a bunch of Twitter war tweens. They don't even measure up to them boys going down to Superfly all the way to minimum weight. They won't ever make those kind of jumps, because you want to know why? I'm not saying that Devin Haney won't, because he's always kept the same energy and been continuously locked out. But what I'm saying, for those who consistently run their mouths, who never even relish in the necessary activity to promote that type of greatness, why are we so quick to give these dudes such a title that I wouldn't even be comfortable stepping my pinky toe in the shoe? I'm not comfortable letting my pinky toe slide in the shoe, let alone my whole freaking foot. Four kings? Are you kidding me? Do you not know who Marvin Hagler the fuck was? Fucking crackheads? Are you kidding me? Let's come back down to reality here. You got dudes disrespecting Wilfred Benitez like he wasn't nothing. And who has he beat? Joet Gonzalez? He don't even want to be considered next to Wilfred. Shout out to Unrivaled. I had a great time on his live earlier today. And it's so crazy how the energy of the world works, because I had already had this live scheduled before I even knew Mark was going live. I scheduled this live earlier this morning. So for that to come up while I'm on his live and to be on this live and to be talking about it, man, it just lets me know that I have landed in the right place with all of my criticism. Tank Davis can't keep himself away from a Chilli dog. He was so willing to give up, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that Tank was so willing to give up his freaking his WBA title, his WBA title? Was it the WBA or the WBO? I believe it was the WBA one after the IBF when he went up in weight. He was so willing to give that shit up. Why? Because he was a fat ass. They gave this fool time to go back and lose the weight, but he didn't want to lose 2 more freaking pounds. 2 pounds. He refused it. So we forego this title, and now you're looking at the freaking 3-time freaking Reggie Belt champion of the world. The one that people are considering the Marvin Hagler of the Four Kings. You got a long, long road to travel. And at the rate that you're going at the age of 26, you're facing like 40 freaking years. I don't ever see you measuring up to that guy. And honestly, Marvin Hagler will be turning over in his grave, throwing a right hook to bust out of the fucking casket, leap up out the ground, and put a freaking dirty ass fucking casket foot in your ass. Real talk. I'm not going to let anybody belittle the accomplishments of who really paved the way of what real grit, real dog, real championship pedigree really is. Like, it's bad enough that you put that title on them, but you guys know nothing about Chocolatito, you know nothing about Estrada, you know nothing about Quadrados, you know nothing about Rung Visa, and you just completely skip over them and all of their accomplishments. And you want to know one thing about the four fucking kings, you pieces of shit? Since you guys are so quick to give them that title, how are you considering these gentlemen the four kings of anything when they have never yet to engage with one another outside of a Twitter war? They're the four fucking kings of Twitter. That's what the hell they are. If they're the four kings of anything, they're the four kings of goddamn Twitter, because that's the only time they've engaged in a fight. Bro, this is trash. This is trash. Let me get up. Let me shout out everybody in the building real quick, and I'm gonna go back to my ranting and raving and my frustrations, because I'm all the way there. I'm all the way there. Trust and believe. Hook salute. Boxing God salute. Dan Campbell big up. JD Boxing, what's goody? Chance Smoke, what it do? I must break you. What's poppin'? Cruz Blake. Said Rolly Romero. JD, what's goody? Electro Jed, what's poppin' with you? Unrivaled, salute. Man, Mark, you already know you're more than welcome to come up if you want to come up. If anybody wants to join the conversation, you're more than welcome to. I'm just, you know what I'm saying, frustrated, you know, and I'm more than willing to have anybody up on the panel if they want to, you know, interject on this whole Four King situation, because they are not that. Brian Harkin, what's popping with you? Nico Bellick, what's goody? Glad you're here. Said Mark sent me here. That's what's up. Hawker Mustang, salute. Teofimo Lopez. Are you kidding me? All right, let's go. All right, I'm gonna put the link in the chat. If anybody wants to come up, you're more than welcome, and you can add to the conversation, because that's what we do. We have the tendency to speak the truth when others want to lie, when others want to give people credit that they do not deserve. Because unfortunately, it's a lot of credit given to people who don't deserve it. Let me read some of these questions. Let me read some of these comments in the chat. Wilfred Benitez was a three-time division world champion at the age of 23. Ryan Garcia, still a prospect. And not only was Wilfred Benitez a three-time world champion at the age of 23, here's the thing. Ryan Garcia just became a WBC interim world champion. He don't even want to fight for the title. He's talking about going down to 130. He was talking about going down to fighting 130, going to fighting Tank, at 130, when Tank Davis isn't even in the weight class. So if you got the fast track to the WBC title, we already know this guy's never going to accomplish anything. And then if he thinks that he's going to go down to 130 and fight Tank, all he was going to do is get knocked out anyway. That dude is 1,000% hot dumpster juice. Like, if we're going to play games, if we're going to play games in divisions, if we're going to play games with the sport, then look, dude, go over to PBC Island. I'm sure they got some pink freaking cotton candy belt waiting to freaking manufacture to throw around your waist. And I'm sure they got all the best shrinks in the world over there. Because I'm sure can't nobody besides the Charlos and a couple other individuals be happy with their career, unless you are of pure cowardice and want to do nothing but fight maybe one time a year. Shout out to Garden Gnome Gary Russell. Shout out to that kid. Listen, Rolly Romero's getting knocked out. Two hands, two chumps, more like out. Dude, here's the thing. Here's the thing about this channel. On Reaper Gang Radio, I happen to be a little bit more ruthless, and I happen to be a little bit more unfiltered and uncontrolled with, you know, my talking points than most. Some people worry about profanity. Some people worry about some of the things they're going to say to you. I necessarily don't. So what you throw out there, all I can say is, Teofimo Lopez, it better be good, because you don't want the rebuttal. I promise you that. That shit right there doesn't even warrant a response. It doesn't even warrant any type of negative criticism from me, because if that's all you're coming with, my God, I'm praying for you. And I literally mean that. God help the children. Oh no, he doesn't have to go anywhere. Look, classless individuals are always going to come through here. They're always going to say things of no substance, and that's what they need to get through their day. It just shows that they have absolutely nothing going on in their life, and it just shows the character of the individual. And I have a lot of people with a lot of wrenches that will literally take the tools to that ass. So hey, man, let them have fun. I don't block anybody. I don't mute anybody unless they say anything weird about kids or women or, like wives, stuff like that. Floyd giving us his ass to kiss with Rolly versus Tank on pay-per-view. I'm not paying for that shit. Look, hey Steve, this is a consistent thing that's constantly going on over at the PBC. And honestly, it quite possibly be because the struggle is that real in the PBC. I mean, it's slim pickings in the stable. They played all of the games of merry-go-round they possibly could play at 147. So that veil has been lifted. Honestly, things haven't been good. None of their fights have really been selling. They don't really, sell out venues like that. They don't really have, big stars that can sell out for them. I mean, the Manny Pacquiao numbers were probably as good as it was going to get for him outside of this new Canelo Caleb Plant situation that they're going to have. So really, the same situation that happened with Spike TV is the same situation that's pretty much happening with Fox right now. That's why Fox got all up in their stuff. That's why Fox got all in their business. They have probably no choice but to put all of this crap on freaking pay-per-view. And it's really unfortunate, the people that they're trying to do that to people. But just like I said yesterday when I was jumping on Tank about them considering Tank a 5-time world champion once again, knowing that he's moving through the ass-cracking alleyways of boxing, collecting nothing but Reggie belts, and there are people that hold precedence above him and pretty much are sunning him and putting him under the wing like fried rice, basically. Tank just looks like a damn fool. Brian.
Yo, what's up, two hands?
What's going on, my brother?
All good, man. Yeah. Right. I'm gonna say Hagler, king. Hearns, king. Leonard, king. Hagler, king. Right. These four queens. Right. These four. I don't even know. I don't even know how to say this. These four queens are on their period 24 hours a day. 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I don't even know how anyone can compare to them. Like those guys fought Hagler, Hearns, Leonard, Duran. Those guys fought. They fought each other, and when they weren't fighting each other, they were active. When they weren't fighting each other, they were stepping into the ring and putting bums on seats. Because let me tell you something about those guys. When they were fighting, the world sat down and watched. When they were fighting, the world took notice. When they were fighting, they had no problem selling out venues. When they were fighting, they had no problem getting attention because people knew what they were going to get from them. People knew what these guys had. These people knew that these guys can punch, these guys can box, these guys can fight when need be. These guys knew that, they were kings. They acted like kings. They acted like men. They stepped into the ring and they fought. They did not let the sport down. These guys today are letting the sport down by putting personal issues over boxing. Right? I don't even know how you can compare these guys, right? I can't look at them and go, I can't look at them and take these guys seriously. Right?
Brian, like I really can't, dude. And it just really ticks me off because, when you're talking about the four kings, like when you're giving that title, when you're giving that title in boxing, Like, yo, that sets precedence over everybody else. And then think of the individuals that came right before those guys. Those guys started their professional careers. Tommy Hearns, I believe, in like the mid 70s.
Yeah,
Shoot, Hagler, was like what, like 68 or something like that.
yeah,
Um, you
yeah.
know, what, you got freaking
Duran.
Sugar Ray Leonard, who was considered the pretty boy, who literally won gold at the Pan Am Games, who won
Yeah,
Olympic gold, who broke barriers, becoming the first guy to make 100 million in purses and shit like that, while fighting all of the best guys of his era. Well, he did have his little slick little tactics. I would say Sugar Ray, publicly showed a little bit more of duck tactics than others, but
yeah,
yet and still one of the greatest fighters of all time, arguably, and fought all of the best. When I look at
yeah,
these individuals, let's look like Brian. Let's think about Ryan Garcia, for instance. He was supposed to fight a Javier Fortuna over the summer. He
yeah,
couldn't even have that fight simply because he was having what's called a mental breakdown. So in his
yeah,
mental breakdown, we see him on Instagram in Hawaii in a hotel with a woman I'm perceiving to be, I guess, the mother of his children or whatever. And that doesn't signify mental breakdown to me. That signifies cowardice, not wanting to live up to your responsibilities, being very chinny when it came to a Luke Campbell. Now, you want to talk about freaking mental issues? Let me tell the people something if you don't already know. When Tommy Hearns, I can't remember what title it was or what fight it was, but it was a major fight. And I believe, I don't want to say where the fight was because I'm not sure. Tommy Hearns' brother killed his fucking wife
yeah,
in his mansion. Like, no exaggeration. Like 15 minutes before his ring walk, he got the news. Do you
yeah,
think he copped out and said, you know what? I'm dealing with some real shit here. A person just got murdered in my house. My brother is facing life in prison. I can't fight. If that isn't the epitome of the ultimate mind screwing, I
yeah.
don't know what is. So,
Right.
whatever your mental health issues are, bro, they don't even compare to what a four king really deals with.
Exactly. Exactly. Right. And I don't want to bring it this way, right? But back in the 70s and 80s too, they also lived through a racial divide, right? Um, I don't want to bring it there, but you know what I mean, right?
Of
They
course, of course.
they faced real problems in that situation, and mentally these guys were tough. Mentally, these guys, they understood that fighting for legacy was the most important thing. Being the best was the most important thing, and they dedicated their life to a sport that will always remember them. But at the end of their career, basically, let them down afterwards. And this has happened throughout boxing history. But they give their life to the sport. Each and every single one of them give their life to the sport. They fought. They fought for their own reasons. They were strong men. They were men, right? And
Men
when I
amongst boys, man,
yeah,
almost to the point to where mentally I would say they were beyond men. They were
yeah,
giants in their time.
yeah,
They
and
were. They were absolute giants in their time. If you think about it, in the same interim, in the same time span, all right, we had Leonard Duran, we had Hagler Hearn, we had Hagler Duran, no, we had
yeah,
Hagler Leonard, we had all these fights that happened. They were all these three men, these four men were so intricately involved with each other and made the sport so much more than what it was and what it is now. I'm just fortunate enough to have lived through it and seen the fights live.
yeah,
Not I didn't go to the fights themselves, but seeing it on TV, and that's a history being made, and which is why I'm so disappointed with what's going on now. And I've been talking about my disappointment from the beginning. My knowledge of boxing is limited, but I know what I remember. And what it's now is nothing compared to what it was then.
Yeah, and when I look at the fighters today, right, I see boys pretending to be men. I see boys who haven't figured themselves out yet. I see boys trying to be something they're not. And it saddens me that when I see the sport and people are comparing these guys, these girls to the Four Kings, right? That's right. I want to throw up each and every time I hear someone say that. And I want to punch someone in the face.
Dude, it's almost like I can't remember that movie it was or whatever when they had like a gun or something like that, and every time he like hit it or whatever, it made like everybody throw up or something. I can't remember what it was, but I almost get like that instant reflex every time that I hear that. And it just goes to show when, just like this era of instant gratification and just how, people moving, just how people are moving in the sport right now. It's almost like, hey, you look at these guys, all of these accomplishments, and you look at the love surrounding them. You look at when they took to the streets, how millions of people followed them. You look at how these dudes didn't fill up arenas. They filled up stadiums, and they would do that shit on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night. You don't have that in boxing anymore. So the only thing these dudes can look to is try to take from that and try to devalue that and try to put themselves on the level of that. Because if it came down to it, if those dudes were in their prime right now, and Tank and every single one of those guys were in their prime right now, how many of those dudes would be world champions?
None.
They would never touch a title.
None, right? Those guys wouldn't even be middle of the table, right? Those guys would have been feeder for these guys. They might have been challengers, but each and every single one of them would have got beaten up to the freaking point where it's not even fair, right? I used this analogy earlier, right? It'd be like putting Campbell Hatton in the ring with a top 50 prospect.
Yeah, right? Man, and that's the point that I try to make time and time again. All I ask people is, like I said, I wasn't born, I was a baby when those dudes were fighting. But I had to go back and watch the videos. I had to go back and watch the fights. I had to do the research. I had to get an understanding and appreciation for who these gentlemen were. And through that research, the appreciation just is few and far between. Like, people don't understand, like, you just can't put the level of the work rate. Like, how many individuals are even, it's like the multi-weight champions that are being thrown around right now. These dudes are moving up, fighting for weight vacant titles. Promotional outfits got their hands involved in it. They're getting to fight crummy opponents and things of that nature. Wasn't none of that going on in the 1980s. I'm telling you that right now. If you just look at probably Marvin Hagler's last 4 opponents, that'll tell you right there. That'll just let you. That alone will let you know how he left his career. I mean, wasn't it like John Mugabe? Sugar Ray was his last opponent. I believe he fought like John Mugabe, Mustafa Hamshill, and who else was it? Like, just all hard hitters. And I believe like that hard hitting Argentinian dude he fought. I can't remember his name off the top of my head right now, but it's different. There's no comparison. Like, and it's a consistent level of top opposition. When you look at what Ryan Garcia does, he's completely thrown out of the equation. And Teofimo Lopez and his high praise for literally one great victory, and then it's a great victory that you refuse to revisit. And it's not that, nobody's asking for it. Everybody's asking for it. Everybody wants to see it again, because the second half of the fight, you were getting beat on.
Yeah, I want to see it again. I want to see it again. I want to see it run back.
I was actually talking with a few people about that specific subject, and people were saying there's no money in it, and I said bullshit, because that could be a pay-per-view, and there would definitely be money in that. And they were saying, no, they'd rather see Devin. And I said, but why? When I personally think the Loma fight would break in more. And I see it that way, but maybe I'm wrong. But too many people like you have said there's unanswered questions that need to be solved.
And Pittsburgh Steel, to answer your smart ass question, I'm sorry, bro, but Juan Roldan was not who you said he was. He was not Italian, bro. He's Argentinian. So why don't you do your research? Well, that's all I wanted to say. We got a lot of smart asses in the comment section tonight.
Yeah, when you go after these protected, queens, and they are protected, right? You get a lot of stupid fucking people in your comment section. That's just how it is these days, right? Instead of protecting these fighters, why don't you tell them to fight each other? Instead of protecting these guys, right? Why don't you want your fighter to prove he's the best? Right? Why not get on their freaking asses and say, you know what? You say you're the best. Go prove it. There's a freaking guy over there, and apparently you're so tough on Twitter. Well, go prove it in the fucking ring. Make these fights. That's all I'm saying. Make these fucking fights, because I'm sick and tired of these guys jumping around each other. I'm sick and tired of these guys saying they're the best when they haven't even fought each other, right? I give Teofimo Lopez all the credit in the world for beating Lomachenko, but that time's past and gone, right? Run it back and prove last time wasn't a fluke.
Dude, it's been a whole year now, man. It's been a whole year now when he's still trying to ride the high off of that performance. I mean, come on now. His popularity hasn't even soared. I mean, let's be serious here. I did the whole 30-minute video. That's why probably Pittsburgh Steel and all of these other individuals are butthurt in here, because they freaking got Teofimo freaking draws on and shit. I've done the video. I've done the research. I've had Teofimo Sr. live on my channel. It's not like, I'm throwing this stuff out of thin air. We know that Triller put up $6 million in an atmosphere where they know nothing about what the weather is like. What I'm saying by that is they know nothing about how boxing works. You jump out there because Teofimo got one great win over Vasily Lomachenko, and Vasily Lomachenko wasn't a person who sold the way he should have, because he's such an exciting fighter that he should sell like that. That they jumped out there with that $6 million. And what did it do? It backfired on them. And the same people that said on my channel that they were willing to go over to Australia and fight for $8 million, but Bob blocked it. When Triller was trying to put the fight in Australia, what did they do? They refused to go over there. They refused it. So what does that say about an individual that says, I'm going to get $8 million in Australia or fighting Cambosis on Reaper Gang Radio? That just says they're full of crap. And it's been a whole year. You were supposed to fight Cambosis in the beginning of, I believe, June or July. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jay. Correct me if I'm wrong, Brian. You didn't fight him. Why didn't that fight come off? Nobody knows. You push it back till the end of the summer. Then what happens? Exactly what I'm speaking of. So what does that say about you? What, can you not make the weight? Are you big for particular reasons that you're trying to disguise? I just can't understand it. And then what? It goes to the second person who put the bid in, a bid of $3 million, somewhere in the atmosphere of what you're really worth. And respectfully, you're not even worth that much yet. And the only reason they did it for you was because, for real, they already knew you were harping about getting paid with Bob Arum. Honestly, nobody wants to hear it, but the offer that Bob Arum gave Teofimo was on par with who he really was at that time. Even as a champion, he had only fought on co-mains. And it was a supposed pandemic going on at the time. So it wasn't like it was anything against him. It's just smart business. And when we look back at the shrewd businessman, we say, hey, well, clearly he made the right decision, because look how Triller bombed after $10 million of expenses, supposedly. Expenses, excuse me. So, these guys just need to chill out. More activity, less talking. Because at the tender ages of 23, 25, 26, those dudes have done way more than you. Like I said, Marvin Hagler reigned for what? Undisputed for what? 7 freaking years?
Yeah.
Get out of here, man.
You think it's too much to ask that if a fighter doesn't fight in a year, that belt should be stripped?
I 100%, right? I agree.
If a fighter doesn't
I
fight
think,
in a year, they should not be a champion.
yeah,
I agree with you, and especially depending upon the circumstances. And what I mean by that, bar none, there's no freak accidents or say, some newly, whatever pops off like we've been dealing with right now about how difficult it's been just to go outside or spend time with your friends. Bar nothing crazy happens like that. But outside of that, if you're not fighting basically because, you don't want to go over here or you broke a nail or things of that nature, something so trivial, yes, you absolutely should be stripped. And it comes to a point to where promotional outfits and sanctioning bodies need to start standing on something, because at the end of the day, it's like, bro, what Teofimo was riding high off of, you can no longer ride high off of that. And you don't have enough accomplishments where people can truly stand behind you and just legitimize all of your claims. Where are the accomplishments?
15 minutes of fame, right? That was Teofimo's win over Loma, right? Your 15 minutes is up. Now it's time to get back to work. That's the simplest way I can put it. Time to get back to work. And I understand you got a mandatory. Get rid of Cambosis and get in the ring with someone who the fans deem a tough test for you. Someone who the fans deem a good fight for you. And don't do it for the fans. Do it for yourself. Do it to prove that you are the best. Do it to prove that you're not overhyped. Do it to prove that you're willing to challenge yourself. Don't do it for us. Do it for yourself. And I'm not talking about Teofimo Lopez. I'm talking about all these guys.
All of them. And that's the whole purpose of this. All of them. That's why, when it comes up to bringing up the accomplishments of the Four Kings, that's why that was the first thing I did when I started this live, because I wanted to let people know that, this isn't about just one particular individual or how I feel this one might be acting or that one is acting. This is just a fair shot at every single one of these individuals to let them know none of you guys measure up to any of the Four Kings. Shit, you don't even measure up to Wilfred Benitez. Shit, I would kind of even feel some type of way. Y'all don't even measure up to Iran Barkley, if I want to be honest.
I agree. 100%.
So at the end of the day, it's just like, this is my problem, and no disrespect to Marion G. That's just how you feel. But to call them Four Kings, they're not that. And that's what I'm trying to get people away from. Stop being so quick to give dudes designations that they don't deserve. Because clearly, if it goes off of any of the things I've said tonight, they clearly don't deserve it.
They don't. They absolutely don't.
My big thing. I'm sorry, Brian. Go ahead. I didn't hear you were talking. Sorry.
No, go ahead. That's what you had.
My big thing with this is that everyone's got a legit excuse for for last year and this year, but things are calming down. Hopefully, letting it slide. But I think too many people are using it as an excuse or as some sort of crutch. Because the fighters were doing this shit well before last year. I had a disdain for boxing for the past 20, 25 years because of how it went and the direction it was going. So I lost interest in boxing because it was like, what happened to the true fighters? What happened to the people that wanted to leave a legacy? Now everybody just wants a quick paycheck, and that's it. And it bothers me. It bothers me. And now with all this, I got more followers than you? Are you fucking kidding me? What has that got to do with boxing? And but this is their mindset.
Yeah, we were joking about that on Mad Chad channel, right?
Yeah.
Right. When we were on, right? They'll name the records out, and they'll name how many followers they have on Twitter, right? As part of the record, with 26 fights, 26 wins, 0 losses, and 0 draws, with 3.5 million, well, 3.5 to whatever, 8 million followers on Twitter. Devin Haney or whatever. Like we were joking about that.
It's like, it's like Devin Haney. It's like, okay, let's think about it. If we think of any of their best wins, we would definitely have to say that Teofimo has a better record of them. And honestly, Teofimo has the best record out of all of them. Teofimo is fought the tougher of the opposition. But one of the things I will say is just like, this Masaroshi Nakatani, thing that, we give Nakatani a lot of credit after the fact because we're looking at who Teofimo is now. But before the fact, nobody gave Teofimo any type of credit before he fought Lomachenko outside. And I gave him the credit. And see, this is the crazy part when all of these chatty patties come in here. I was literally one of the only people that picked Teofimo to win that is documented on my channel. When everybody ragdolled him, said it was too soon, said he wasn't going to do this, wasn't going to do that. I was champion for Teofimo before all of these so-called fake microwave Teofimo guys. But my whole thing is, this is a boxing channel. I'm going to criticize those who should be criticized. And at this point, yes, he does have the better record of all 4 of them. But goddamn, that's not really saying much because, Masaroshi Nakatani isn't much. It's not much. Richard Comey, that's great. He was a champion. Lomachenko was at 1. Lomachenko's a very small guy, though. And we seen what happened on the second half. So all I'm saying is, even if you look at that, that's 3 opponents compared to guys that have over 5 world champions, probably a piece. 5 Hall of Famers a piece on their freaking resume. Shit. And I believe, as a matter of fact, in 2016 alone, they just said in 2016 alone, Brian, that Sugar Ray Leonard is the best fighter living.
Yep. I've heard that. Statistically, right? Up to last earlier this year, Manny Pacquiao had the best record of all professional boxers. But is he better than Sugar Ray Leonard? No. Right? I love Manny Pacquiao. I love what he did. Right? I love the fighters he fought. But is he better than Sugar Ray Leonard? If I was to put them into the ring, Sugar Ray Leonard, prime for prime with Manny Pacquiao, my money would go down on Sugar Ray Leonard. Right?
Oh, beating them all.
Yeah. He would. He would, right? And that's the God's honest truth, right? If I had that choice, right, I put money actually down on Floyd beating, right? I put money down on Marquez beating him on the 4th fight, which I made a nice wee killing there. I can't lie, right?
Good stuff.
Not by knockout, but I did have him winning, by decision. I thought he would outbox him. That's the one fight where he took a beating. Marquez. He took a beating
a beating
in that fight. And he knocked Manny Pacquiao out, but I still won money. So this is boxing, right? What's their objective? Get in the fucking ring and fight. I don't really give a shit about the politics around the fight, right? Usually, you see, up to about 3 years ago, I was the type of guy interested. They make the fight, I go watch it. And if it was a mismatch, I'd go complain about it. Yeah, and he should be fighting this guy or that guy or that guy. Right? But, I really didn't pay attention to the politics around everything. So, I started looking into it. I started seeing patterns, which I thought, sorry. I got some sort of blowback there. I don't know.
Oh, go ahead. You're good.
I have an echo.
Nah, it's probably me. It's something about freaking these headphones.
Okay. Yeah. Right. I looked at and I saw patterns in boxing and just, how long it takes for these guys to make a fight. And then, I saw it looks like ducking. This guy should be fighting this guy. This guy's calling this guy on Twitter. This guy's calling, whatever. And, they're in the same weight class, right? And it's the more likely fight to be made, but this fight be made. This fight's made. That fight's made. And I looked at it and I went, well, that's bullshit. Right? You got two guys arguing on Twitter, right? And then when it comes to getting in the ring, they're picking two opponents, they could beat with one hand tied behind their back.
Right. I'm just so sick of the constant conversations to where it's just like, oh, when we gonna fight? When we gonna fight? When you gonna get to me? When we gonna do this? When we gonna do that? And then you go on Twitter and they have nothing concrete. They have nothing set in stone that anybody's gonna fight. No ink is even beginning got wet yet. And dudes are just doing this constant back and forth. And I agree with you, segueing off what you're saying 1000%, Brian, because that's my problem. I always distribute my critique, my harshest critique, based off of what fighters have done, what they've done, what they do in the ring, what they do outside of the ring. All of that stuff translate into how I'm going to interpret my interpretation of you as a fighter. So if naturally you aren't doing the things that you said you're going to do, and we live in an information age to where everything is recorded and I can see all of those things and I literally can follow your life day by day, minute by minute, because you make it privy to the world, what do you expect me to do? I mean, if you're only kicking around tomato cans, if you're not running around and fighting anybody, if you pull out of every fight, but you got 4 children, so it shows me that that your pull-out game by nature is definitely weak, but you can manage to pull out of every fight. I mean, I'm going to have a problem with that. Yeah. If all of a sudden you got mental health and your arm breaks down, your leg bone breaks down, whatever the case may be. If you say that you're going to fight an individual in a post conference, he doesn't even say your name, you initially call that individual out. Yeah. And then you don't do anything at above. Matter of fact, you're inactive for an entire year. I'm going to have a problem with that. Yeah. It's say, for instance, in Devin Haney's situation, if Devin Haney, if out of all the people he's ran down and tried to fight, if they've consistently had the different energy, but if that shifts and Devin Haney has the different energy, what do you think I'm going to do to Devin Haney? I'm going to do to Devin Haney the same thing that I've done to Teofimo Lopez in the Usual Liars video. Yeah. It's not like this is a favoritism thing. This isn't a picking and choosing thing. This is you're letting the sport down. You're letting me down as a fan thing. Because look, yes, I do run a channel, but I'm a fan first. So there are things I expect, just like any other fight fan expects. We just expect to hold you accountable for your own greatness. This is your greatness, not mine. But I have to witness it. So if you're setting a trend that is only poisonous to the well-being of the sport, to where it's like, hey man, any fat ass can jump off of the couch, have somewhat of a look, smile to the public, put on boxing gloves, get with a professional trainer and act like he's the part, just like Deontay Wilder and just like several other fighters, and they can manage to be successful. Look, that's the constant that I see. Yeah. And I see other individuals that are looking at what they're doing, Brian, and it's rubbing off on them. And I'm starting to feel like, hey, if they're operating that way, why can't I do it as well?
Yeah. These guys are running more than Adrian Broner from child support.
Facts. Definitely running away from all that.
So that's just how I see it, right?
For sure.
That's just how I see this.
I just realistically want competition to be at its best. And sadly enough, you can look at the athletic specimen that are around the sport and you could say, hey, as generations change, kids become more athletic, gene specimens become taller, they're more stronger, they can lift, they go from lifting, hey, maybe in my generation, they were lifting double their body weight, maybe, double their body weight, maybe these kids might start lifting, triple their body weight. Who knows? But as years change and you get athletically more superior over the time, I expect the fight to become faster, more competitive. I expect to see more technique. I don't want to see the technique diminish. I don't want to see, the level of opposition diminish. I don't want to see the talk points carry from every Twitter conversation like I'm witnessing Devin, Haney, and JoJo Diaz do right now as I get every notification that goes through my phone. It's just I'm done with all of that stuff. All of the posturing must go. Because when you speak of the four kings once again, and I'm about to end off just like this, you're speaking of individuals once again who are multi-weight champions who have all fought over, if you're going to think of Sugar Ray, 36 wins, but how many world titles? If you think of freaking Hitman Hearns, 100 plus fights, how many titles? Something crazy like 70 KOs, something crazy. Yeah. How many titles? How many divisions? This dude went all the way up to cruiserweight, light heavyweight world champion. If you think of freaking Marvin Hagler, how long did he reign undisputed at middleweight? Once again, 7 freaking years. And if you think of the 80s and if anybody wants to say anything about their competition, you need to smack yourself. Because you had Benitez and all of those guys around. I mean, how many opportunities is it really going to be for you to be the greatest that you possibly could be, even if you were a great fighter? Yeah. You had to run through some serious opposition. So all I'm saying is, if you guys want to walk in those shoes, at least do the thing that those guys do, or at least aspire to be what those guys are. That's all.
Put in the work, right? When I see these guys, when I look at Ryan Garcia, I don't think he loves boxing. When I look at Devin Haney, I think he is the one out of the whole lot. He is the boxing focused guy, right? He's totally focused on boxing. When I look at Ryan. When I look at Teofimo Lopez, he's living on his accomplishments, right? He's not really focused. He's not really focused on boxing, but he's living off past accomplishments. Teofimo Lopez, Ryan Garcia. I said Devin Haney. Who's the fourth guy? That was these 4 fucking kings, Who's the fourth guy? My head's just gone fucking blank.
Oh, my bad. I was typing in the chat. What'd you say?
Devin Haney. When I look at Devin Haney, I see someone who's focused on their boxing.
Right.
He is the one focused on boxing. When I look at Ryan Garcia, he's going crazy. Right? He's doing other things. He's Twitter, Instagram, all that bullshit. He's finding his followers there. He has other interests in boxing. When I look at Teofimo Lopez, he's living on his past accomplishments, right? And I don't think he's putting in the work. I think he's struggling to make 135. I think he will move up to 140 very soon. So, because he can't make 135 anymore. And who's the fourth guy? Jesus Christ, my head's gone blank.
Tank Davis.
Tank. When I see Tank, he's fighting Rolly Romero. Right? Rolly Romero.
That says it all.
Who got destroyed by Jackson Menarez. Right?
Yeah, Jackson Marina has destroyed him 12 rounds to nil, and I believe the cards was something outrageous. Like it was like 118 to 110, 116, 112, 115, 113 on the cards.
Yeah, and this is the guy Tank Davis is fighting. Right? Someone who's probably 35th in the division. Jackson Menarez, right? Beat Rolly Romero. And this is the level of competition that Tank Davis is fighting. Right? And he got other fucking problems going on at the moment with a court case, or with a felony hit and run. probably under the influence as well.
Yeah. And like I said yesterday, you would think somebody with 14 counts of felonies, they would be fighting the toughest opposition they could find, or the best opposition they could find to garner the biggest purse they can get in boxing, considering you have some serious time, 40 years by the time over top of your head. And it's just like, you're not doing that. You're fighting the Rolly Romeros of the world, somebody who just got completely outclassed by Jackson Marinez. And you want to know the one thing that really ticks me off about that situation when it came to Rolly Romero is the fact that Jackson Marinez was an undefeated fighter at that time. They took that man's O away from him for nothing, man.
Yeah. They took it away from him for Rolly Romero to be a slaughter for Tank Davis. That is the game. That is the game they're playing over there at the PBC, and it's just not the PBC, right? I saw a fighter in Belanga get schooled by what's his fucking name?
Didn't he get knocked on his back by some like unheralded cat, like on the undercard of Wilder versus Fury?
I don't know if he got. I don't remember if he got knocked down, but he got outboxed. He got outboxed. I think it was an 8-round fight, and I remember having it 6-2 to the other cat.
And that was my thing about him too, with all those first round knockouts. I'm like, okay, everybody's getting all giddy about that, but here's the thing: how many of us have? How do we know if he can go into the deep end? What's going to happen if he gets past 5 rounds? How can he adjust? And we saw what happened with that.
Yeah, that's right. We're in an era of boxing now where accolades are handed out quicker than accomplishments. Right? These guys, this guy's the next, this guy's the next, this guy's the next, this guy's the next. Right? But actually accomplishing something and maintaining that accomplishment, when I'm talking about maintaining that accomplishment, winning a title and defending against a top opponent.
The crazy thing is, all of those gentlemen, all of the real 4 kings have more knockouts than those dudes have fights.
Yeah.
Duran's got 70 of them. Freaking Tommy Hearns has got like 48 of them things. Freaking even Sugar Ray's got 25 knockouts. Shoot, Tank's only got what? 25 fights, 24 KOs?
Yep.
Them boys got more knockouts than them boys got fights, man.
I know. And we're in a crazy world now. And this is what I will say, right? I did a joke yesterday. I forget what channel it was on. I think it might have been Mad Chads again. And I said, who's got more power? Because I think Devin Haney's a good boxer. I don't think he's the most powerful puncher in the world. And I said, who's got more power, Devin Haney or Shakur Stevenson for their weight class? You know? You know what I mean? So, I think Devin is a great boxer. I think I'm still waiting to see on Shakur because I haven't seen Shakur hit yet. And I said this earlier to you on Marks. I said, what happens when he finds his Marco Maidana?
Exactly. When somebody really touched that bed like the hands of stone, or like Marcos would touch that bed. What happened when you get hit with a ton of bricks behind the glove? You think it's a ton of bricks.
You know, so we're at this point now where these guys, they've been handed out accolades, and they haven't accomplished anything yet. And that's where I am with them, right? They still have to prove to me, and I'm not talking about over 2 or 3 fights. I'm talking about over another 15, 20 fights each one of these guys may have to fight for me to go, he's a great fighter. He's an average fighter. He's a good fighter. You know what I mean?
Dude, I mean, they don't even match the activity of a modern day Oscar De La Hoya. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Oscar De La Hoya was like the guy who fought 4 or 5 times a year. Oscar De La Hoya was the guy unifying titles under 25 years old. Like, you know, these dudes don't understand what real greatness really looks like, man. And it's just like, you know, I couldn't even imagine any of those fighters even being compared or getting, you know, BWAA association, awards like being the greatest fighter of the last 80 years, like a Roberto Duran, or you know what I'm saying, being considered the greatest fighter alive in 2016 when there's a lot of hyper talent in the past 30 years or so, like a Sugar Ray Leonard. You know what I'm saying? Like it just I just don't see it. I don't see these dudes going up trying to be great. And see, everything that they did, and I'm basing this off the losses, because all of those dudes caught devastating losses and had an extreme amount of punishment and came back in different weight classes to become champions against people who probably a doctor would say, you have the probably the chance of having 50% of the quality of life that you're going to have after you enter this type of fight. And when you know these guys, all of these guys have entertained, all of these guys are multi-weight world champion, have entertained so many fights, and these guys have done none of the above. I just think that, it's just a level of disrespect that I can't live with, and I just can't appreciate. That's why, I appreciate you too for this fact, Brian, that I could get up here, and regardless of whether people agree with my opinions or not, we do have history and we have fact that we can lend to people and let them know it's like, yo, what you're saying about these guys isn't necessarily it. You need to change your tune a little bit. Guess we got a super chat in the building. Shout out to my bro Carlos Rosado. He said, my man, Two Hands, just showing some love, bro. Pray the family's all well, G. Reaper gang. Yeah, man. It was, it was a little unfortunate situation, man. Somebody, very close to me and my family, you know what I'm saying, tried to inflict some bodily harm to themselves. So, it was one of them things they got admitted to the hospital. So just very, very, very unfortunate situation and circumstance, but that person is okay. It's just, family's gonna do things and handle things like family should together. So, I appreciate all you guys' love and support, man. And yeah, man. That'll be that. But about these four kings, man. I'm about to wrap this thing up because I got another live at 9:30 popping up. Yeah, man. Just last words on this from me per se is, once again, man, stop jumping the gun. You're giving credit where credit shouldn't really be given. None of these dudes will ever be able to walk in the footsteps of Roberto Duran. Like, yo, think about it. Roberto Duran. Like hands of stone, Sugar Ray Leonard, shoot, let's even add Wilfred Benitez, Iran Barkley in there, Tommy Hearns. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just don't measure up. When you get more than 5 Hall of Famers underneath your belt, and you climb more than 3 weight classes as a champion, then maybe I'll start to respect you a little bit more.
Yeah. Like, I can't give these guys credit. No. At the end of their career, I may turn back and go, he had a good career. But why compare them to the four kings? They will have to do an awful lot between now and the end of their career to be compared. And maybe at the end of their career, I might. But until then, I won't even utter that. Right? Because I think that's a disrespect to Hagler, Leonard, Duran. That is a total disrespect to the four kings. It
truly is.
Just is.
Yeah, man. So, Brian, man, as always, man, I appreciate you coming through. It's been a great conversation, man. Great topic, man. One of those ones I feel like must have been had. Everybody in the chat, man, you already know what it is. It's all love. We got to fire this thing up again at 9:30 Eastern time. Talk about Jamel Herring and talk about Shakur Stevenson. Since that fight is taking place tomorrow, Brian, anything you want to say to the people before we get out of here?
Just Two Hands. Thanks for having me on. I don't know if I'll make it for that because I'm thinking about getting in there every night. But
yes, sir.
Yeah. So now, just thanks for having me on, and everyone. Right? Don't be too quick to put accolades on these guys. Make them deserve your accolades. I try to do that with all these fighters. Right? When they come up with a good win, I go, good win, but I get over that quickly. What's next? And that's how boxing should be. That's how we should treat these guys. What's next? Not what you did yesterday. What's next?
Absolutely. What's next, man? What's next? And like I said on Mark's channel, man, if this was a Janet Jackson song, I would be having to ask all of these individuals, what the hell have you done for me lately? Well, Reaper Gang, that's all we have for, you know what I'm saying, until 9:30. Y'all already know the motto, as we always say at the end of this shit. It costs you nothing. Pay a nigga no mind. Respect to all my boxing fans, and y'all already know. That's the motherfucking boss. Respect though.
Peace.